This is Paul Newman with the Cash Flow Cafe podcast. Today we have Mr. Bo Viness on the show. We are going to talk about investing, saving, getting your journey started, a career pivot for Mr. Bo, and let's hop right in. In 1 minute or less, tell us all about yourself.
Well, I'm from Ackworth, Georgia. Moved down to Statesboro in 2010. Went to Georgia Southern. Taught at Statesboro High School for 6 years. Pivoted into real estate in 2020. Got 2 kids, wonderful wife. We're both business owners. We love Statesboro and decided to make our home here, raise our family here.
That's awesome. Just recently moved to my neighborhood, Woodlawn, one of the better neighborhoods in Statesboro. Bo, what made you, when you got into teaching, what truly made you kind of switch into the career of real estate?
Well, I think I just wanted a different type of lifestyle. That teaching was great, met a lot of great people, had steady income. That's all I knew. My parents were teachers in education. Just didn't match up with the lifestyle, especially as we started having kids. I just realized a lot of time commitment, very rigid schedule, very rigid income. So just wanted to pivot the lifestyle, I think, was the ultimate goal.
You know, in life, I think a lot of stuff is like what you get exposed to. I tell that all the time, like, what do you see, right? And so you saw your parents, they were teachers and steady income, and they kind of, you knew what you had, but you also said, you something clicked and said, man, there's got to be something a little bit different. But real estate does provide those things. It provides flexibility. Now you have to go out and eat what you kill. You have to make the sales, and this is not an easy business to jump into. One thing that I think has been really cool on your part is you've also looked at the investing side of things. And today I'd like us to focus a lot on what does it look like for a first-time investor or truly getting started. I think people are so paralyzed by it's just a nervous thing. And some people don't have the money to invest. So I want to get into a lot of different topics, but why don't you tell us about like what made you kind of jump off the cliff to get into the investing side? Sure.
And there's a lot of information you can get on TikTok or Instagram, and there's just influencer after influencer showing you different things that, misinformation or just oversimplified. So it gets confusing, The biggest thing is the investing side is what I've always been interested in, owning real estate long-term. That's where I saw the really wealthy people that were living the lifestyle that I wanted to live. So what are they doing? And they all owned real estate. So that's where the switch kind of flipped. And it started when I had that W-2 job with not a very high income. And it started with just budgeting and saving, because the harsh reality of investing in real estate is you need cash. You can't have no cash and get into this game, because even if you found out a way to leverage and buy the property, you're still going to need reserves. Things can go wrong. You've got to be liquid a little bit. And so it can be challenging, but I think that's where it started, budgeting, saving, stacking up a nest egg to start is super important. So that's really, and it's hard to hear sometimes, but it's not complicated. But it's not easy either. So, just save money.
Let's stay on saving. And I joke with you about you being frugal and different things. Look, I was frugal to a fault. I mean, and I will admit it. Golly, when I was 16, I used to remember they used to have a deal where you could answer your cell phone, and if you took the call and it was like a minute or less, and you hung up in time or something, it wouldn't.
It didn't count your minutes.
Yeah, it didn't count your
free.
minutes. You were limited on minutes, and I remember doing those things. I remember drinking water at restaurants because I didn't want to spend the extra money. Ultimately, I had an entrepreneurial mind to where I would buy something for $7 and sell it for $14. But savings and investing they're two different things, right? You can save, and you have to invest, but it's not easy if you don't have a lot of extra money at the end of the day. What are ways that you cut back over time, or what things do you value to make these investments?
I think the number one thing is tracking it for everybody, because if you don't know what's coming in and out, it's impossible to know what your savings rate is or how much you're saving, or you feel like you can't stack up, or you feel like you've got a hole at the bottom of the boat where you keep putting money in, but it's not staying there right where to go. And so it's just like when you're trying to lose weight. If you're not stepping on the scale every day, you're not going to be able to track your weight. If you're not checking your bank account every day, if you don't know the ins and outs, like when I wake up in the morning, every day I check all my bank accounts and I know what the balances should be. So if there's something off, I know it, right?
So pivotal for you is tracking. Where are the leaks? Where am I leaking?
Where you got to track it, because if you don't track it, you've got nothing to work on.
Okay, so how are you tracking it? What is your magic formula for tracking?
Well, it starts really simple, and it's just sometimes it's opening up the bank account, because I know the feeling when you spend a lot, or when it's getting real low,
after a trip,
or if it's overdrive after a trip, or after you've gambled or whatever, and you know that the number's bad. You don't open the phone, you don't open the app. I know the feeling, so it's like it's really basic. If you're somebody who's just kind of starting out, I really tell people, just look and look at your statements. Know which subscriptions you have. Are you paying for 3 Netflix accounts? Do you have a DoorDash account and an Uber Eats account? How much are you spending on these? And all these apps now with AI, I mean, you can, it's tracks it for you.
Do you have one that you tell people like is really good?
So, I use what's called QuickBooks Self-Employed to track, and it will automatically. And there's like a ton of different versions of QuickBooks, but they have other. I'm blanking on some other apps now, but I'm sure if you Google it, there's all kinds of. Monarch, I think, is one, but they'll track your. It'll automatically categorize those things for you. You can say, okay, we're spending this much on DoorDash. How much?
That would be, to me, golly, what an easy thing to cut. I mean, of course, we both live right in the heart of town. Like, I can go get something in 3 minutes. Why would I add on $15, $20 extra to the bill?
Yeah. And, things like that, well, you could say groceries got more expensive, but there's still ways that you can, even if you just went and got the food, it would still help.
Correct.
So
eating leftovers.
I mean, just
I ate ramen noodles and tuna helper forever. Like, forever.
Yeah,
Lori and I would go to a restaurant when we first started dating in college, and we would I remember, I'll never forget it had Moe's buy one get one free burrito, right? So we would get a buy one get one free for like $5.99, and we would have them half it, right? So then and then we'd eat leftovers the next day, so those are the things, and everybody can save in different ways, but you have to pick your battles. You got to cut back. But it's hard in America to save right now.
It's hard, and I'm not trying to sound like somebody super out of touch, cut out the avocado toast or whatever, I'm not, but you have to look and just see what, like you said, it's so tailored to the individual. What am I doing that I could change, and I'm willing to change? Because you know what, if you say you're going to get Starbucks every morning because that's what you need to do to get through your job, I'm not going to tell you not to do that, because in reality, that's another thing we can talk about later. But I stopped focusing on, $3 problems and started focusing on $3,000 problems, because you could save that $3 a day, but in reality, that's $1,000 a year. That's not change. That's not moving the needle.
So at some point, you have to learn how to make more money, right? Like that is the ultimate goal. Yes, saving is truly important, right? Because that gives you the power to invest. But in today's economy, with stuff costing so much, you have to figure out, how can I make more money to then invest it.
That's right. But you don't know what your problems are until you
analyze and track.
It. So that's step one, and then step two is figuring out making those changes, and then later. Yes, when you got to invest to increase your income and increase your.
So let's talk about a couple hacks, a couple that I would find important, kind of getting your first house, right? Everybody wants the goal of the first house. To me, instead of jumping into a $350,000 house being your first, it's crazy. The average home in America is probably $380,000, $400,000 as far as the average. The first time home buyer. I remember Lori and I buying, at the time, everything was like $100,000. You could buy a $100,000 house easily. But we would live in the house, right, with only 3.5% down or 5% down, because that's all you have to do on your first. And then now that is a rental property, right? So years down the road, hey, we got a couple of these paid off from very low entry. And the leverage, talk about leverage in real estate, Bo, and why it's so amazing.
Yeah, leverage is really your friend when you don't have a lot of capital, and utilizing your owner-occupied loans where you can put 5% down or less down. That's really how. Now, again, everything's got a cost. The cost is you're going to have to physically move, and it's a pain. It's a pain. It's not an easy thing to do. But before you have kids, it's amazing, right? If you can, 100%. You can grind it out 2 years at a time, avoid capital gains taxes if you sold it, or you can hold them for rentals and only had to put 5% down or 3% down.
Right.
So if young people that come to me, and it's cool because now, I coached a lot of kids, and a lot of those kids are now in their early 20s or so, and they're trying to buy their first house. So it's really cool to hear from them. They reach out to me now, and I can kind of explain to them that there are options, especially in Bullitt County, where you've got 0%. Everything is USDA eligible. You can put 0%
no money
down.
Options.
That's right.
Get in your first house. You own it with no money down. Make sure you protect your credit. We'll probably talk about that for an hour. But.
Yep. So there are ways to get the house, and our cost of living here is still relatively low, right? If you compare it to other, we're not in a big metro area. It's still, there are opportunities to, force appreciation too, where you buy something that needs a little bit of work that you can get into with low money down, and then you've got a great rental established. You can move on to the next and move on to the next. I mean, I have friends that are high net worth individuals that still do this, that still utilize it because they're able to, and they take advantage of it. It's not just a first time thing, but it's a great way to start building wealth. So, and that leverage, you have to leverage when you've gotten low capital, when you're just starting out.
Well, we can also talk about stocks versus real estate, which are, how the pros and cons. I mean, I always use this example, but if you put 20% down on $1 million property, which would be $200,000, yes, that's a lot of money to most people in the audience. So this is just an example because you can scale it back down. If you put it on a 15-year note, and let's just say you were able to break even on your monthly income, and so you put the $200,000 down, well, in 15 years, it could be paid off, right? Well, historically, real estate's doubled in 15 years. So, if you've owned the asset, that $1 million asset you paid $200,000 for could be $2 million paid off,
right, with
the income coming in. Nowhere else, in my opinion, can you turn $200,000 into $2 million in 15 years.
Right.
That is an amazing thing. And I ask people all the time, well, what if you bought stocks and spent $200,000 in stocks in 15 years? What would you hope it would be? Everybody goes, I don't know, 400 or 500,000. Well, that ain't $2 million.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have the income, right? That stock doesn't rip the income.
Yeah, the real estate provides a couple different, especially for people just starting out investing, or they want to amplify their earnings, right? If they're stuck on a teacher salary that's fixed, real estate offers a lot of unique things like that, where you're getting cash flow, you're getting the appreciation, you're getting the tenant to pay down your debt, right? That debt is a hedge. You've locked in that debt. If inflation is at 3% and you've got that debt at 5%, then your delta on that is only 2%. But the tenant's paying it down. The tenant's paying the property taxes. The tenant's paying all that. And then they're paying off your asset for you. I think the problem is, and with stocks too, you can't get that leverage. You got to buy $200,000 worth of stock.
They're not going to let you. You have to physically give your money up. They're not going to let you.
That's right.
Hey, can I get $1 million of Apple stock for $200,000? No, you can't.
Exactly. Then no one's giving you a 5-to-1 margin just starting out like that.
I think that speaks to the safety of real estate. Yes, it can go up and down, but I think that real estate remains one of the safest investments you could possibly choose.
It's just, it lets you hit a bunch of different angles, and I think the tenant paying down the note for you is one of the most underlooked. Everyone wants to talk about cash flow. Oh, you make this amount every month, but you've got repairs that happen, you've got other things that happen. That cash flow, especially with a high interest rate, is hard to find. But I think people ignore, or they overlook, just the tenant paying it down for you. If you didn't account for that house to be worth more in 15 years, you said it was going to be flat. Right.
For the longest time in Statesboro, I am just what you said. I did not account on a price jump. I counted on just being flat.
Yeah. If you just said it,
but that tenant is paying your
That's right.
asset.
That's right.
There's nothing better.
I know. And people don't talk about it because I guess it's not flashy and it takes 15 years. But you really have to just look. It seems like a far way away, but it's a retirement account, essentially. That house, if you just said it was going to be worth exactly what you paid for it, but you could have it for free in 15 years,
no doubt,
take that deal, right?
And you talk about flashy, right? Like, real estate doesn't have to be flashy. My favorite investment is just a regular brick house. Yeah. Give me a good location in a brick house all day.
The problem, I say this all the time. People they want to own 10 properties, but they don't want to buy one. Right. They look at the first one and they say, it's not great. It makes me $300 a month. It's not great, but they don't calculate that internal rate of return. They don't factor in the appreciation. They don't factor in the mortgage interest deductions and all that stuff, which is standard now. But you've got, when you stack enough, you can get more.
Well, and there's a lot of people go, man, I don't know. I hear people all this time that have the means to do it, and they'll go, well, I don't want just one or two, and they'll tell you that, and maybe that's true, but you're never going to get started if you have that mindset.
You're not buying 10 at once, but that's what I'm saying. So everybody wants to have 10 properties, but nobody wants to buy their first one. Buy one. So
and look, here's the deal. A lot of people go, oh, the real estate agents, they buy all the properties up. That's not true. And the best investors look at it like it's their job. Like they hit me with properties before I even think about looking.
Yep.
And the best places to look are your Zillows and your Realtor.coms. If you're a true investor and you want to buy, look at it every day. And I promise you, if you watch it,
especially
you
now,
will find something.
especially now, right?
Yeah.
There's less buyers active right now than has been in a long time. So you can get the jump on people. You can get concessions. You can hit them low on some of these properties that have been sitting on the market for 200, 300 days. So it's you just have to be active. And that's the next hardest part I tell people, because some people will call me and they'll say, hey, I've got 60 grand saved up, or I've got 80 grand saved up. I'm ready to buy a property. Here's my budget. I know that I want this kind of property. Great. You found your buy box. Okay. But you now might have to sit on go for a long time. And a lot of people can't handle seeing $80,000 in their checking account over 6 months while you search for a good deal. It gets, oh, well, we got to go to Disney, so we'll just pull it out of this fund. And then, yeah, we ran this credit card out. Oh, let's pay this. Oh, let's do this. It's Christmas time. Let's do this.
That's sacrifice.
Right. And but because they see the big number in the bank, they did a great job, but then you don't find a deal for 6 months, and it's hard work finding a deal. So it's not only is it like kind of demoralizing when you can't get a deal that fits what you want, then you eat away at that, and now all of a sudden you don't have the down payment again. Now you got to kind of go back to it. So I see that happen a lot too, where people
have it and geared up their mindset, and then they don't find the deal.
And they might buy a house in 2 years or something like that, but you're now, all that stuff is 2 years down the road when you
got to go ahead and jump. And it's hard. I mean, it is probably the most challenging time to be an investor right now, but there's deals to be had on every corner and in every town.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think in terms of, give somebody 3 steps to like, all right, I've got money saved. What is 1, 2, 3 to go get it done? Go get your first deal.
So that's another thing is people ask, is it a good investment, right? And you say the realtors buy all the deal, or people tell me, just like to tell you, oh, if it's a good deal, you'll buy it. No, because the first step is figure out, why are you investing? When I first started investing, I was a teacher. My goal was to replace my teacher income with cash flow. And at the time, it was a very low interest rate environment. And it was a time, 2020 was a time where housing prices were going up, everything was going up, rents were going up, supply was constrained.
Wonderful time to buy. If you did, congratulations.
Yeah, and there, at the time I was looking for high cash flow, so I bought some college rentals and I bought some things that fit my buy box. But if you are a really high net worth individual, you got high income, if you're a doctor, you're just trying to offset taxes, you want a really class A property that's not going to cash flow, me and you would not look at the same property and say, this is a good investment. I would say, this doesn't fit me, this does fit you. Correct. Or vice versa. So there's not saying a property is a good investment. Does it fit my why I'm investing? Am I looking for appreciation long term to hand to my kids later, right? Or am I looking for cash flow? Or am I looking for something that I can add value to? And that's really the one thing is, the first step is get educated. There's great resources, books, Brandon Turner's.
Bigger Pockets, wonderful.
Yep. I tell everybody the very first, Brandon Turner's got the book of real estate investing, and I think that's the title. But it's literally like it breaks down vocabulary. It's kind of a great beginner kind of resource you can go back and reference. And it kind of breaks down different reasons why you would buy real estate, and you got to find, why are you buying real estate? Is it a retirement account? Is it a cash flow play?
It's wonderful. I mean, and yes, so like for me, it's really easy, right? I never wanted to be told no. If I want to go take my family to the national championship, just did. I wanted to be able to confidently be able to go, no, you can't afford that. No, I've made the steps and invested to go, all right, no problem. I can do that and I can afford that comfortably. What is your why? I mean, if I wanted to go on a trip, if I wanted to do something, you got to sacrifice before you can do these things. But then the real estate lets you do these things. Cash flow lets you do these things. Hey, once these things are paid off and you've got $5,000 a month coming in, 10, 15, 20,000, guess what? You can do some things that may seem out of reach right now, but that's delay. That's the delayed gratification, right? And to me, nobody talks about this. A lot of people say, well, you got to sell the asset to make the money, right? Well, you don't have to do that, right? I've got some properties I've been investing in for over 20 years that I can that are paid off. Guess what? I can refinance those. If I need to, right? maybe the property's worth 300 and I want to take 100,000 out to do X, Y, and Z. Guess what? That's not even a taxable event.
Right.
That is truly just you're making the payment. So a paid off asset, you can borrow it against and put money in your pocket. I mean, and still pass down to your children one day.
Yep.
That is huge for me. I can't pass my career down. If you're an NFL player, you can't pass your career down. But you can pass real estate down. What is cooler than that?
Yep. It's such a, you're right. People don't talk about it because it's also really long term. Everybody now wants, the crypto because it goes up fast, right? You want the balls, you want to get rich quick, and it's real estate is really a get wealthy slow, right? And
long term.
Because if you have 20 houses that get paid off over 20 years, you put them all on 20-year notes or whatever, and they get paid off.
Yeah.
If you have that, like you said, every year you pull $100,000 out tax free, you could just live on that because the rent is going to be rented, right? It's going to cover. It doesn't matter what the interest rate is. It's going to be rented because your leverage is fine.
You still maintain the asset,
and you still own the asset, and they'll pay it down again
instead of paying taxes and sell it at some huge high rate or whatever.
Yep.
And if you get really in the weeds with it, you acquire enough, and then to pass down to your kids is really, really cool. I mean, you don't want to make them sorry and lazy and all the things. That's another discussion for another day. But to be able to truly pass down a legacy to your family, that's very neat.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great long-term asset that you can just recycle like that, and it can just keep the wealth going. So
let's get back on track. All right. So you got your first investment. You're gearing up. You're finally ready to take it. Banking relationships are very underrated. I would say me getting exposed to some different bankers has created tremendous opportunities for me, knowing how to work a deal, them advising you, and maybe having multiple bankers to get different quotes from, right? Figuring out, all right, well, this banker gave me 5.7 for 5 years, or this one gave me, that could save you thousands. I mean, you've been extremely good. Talk about the golden rule of refinancing as well.
Yeah, so banking is super. That was a big mindset shift. As somebody who had just used a bank, I just had a checking account. I had a regular mortgage on my house. Right, you don't really have a lot of experience with commercial lending, or you're not just in the bank meeting people or whatever. But that's something that you really taught me in these networking events and meeting all these bankers, is that you're the customer, right? Yeah. And they have different, and I didn't realize that the banks have different products. They have different standards. They have different things. And so going to this bank versus this bank, you'll get different terms and different options. So branching out, introducing myself to multiple lenders, different types of lenders. I had no idea any of that even existed. And that's just something, again, like it's
getting exposed to it. You saw it, right? I saw it. I saw you worked at Coldwell Banker for 10 years, and I got exposed to different things. And one of the best things I've ever been taught, and it's free advice for anybody, if you can get lines of credit, they are extremely powerful. Like a line of credit can let you go take down a property just like that in cash, you know, and maybe you only have a $20,000 line of credit or 50, but if you can get your lines of credit up, bam.
Yeah. And that's, I keep an eye on my leverage percentage on the entire portfolio, but I do have a couple houses that are paid off. And as soon as you pay them off, you get the line of credit. And is it the best necessarily cash on cash return for a paid off property? No, right? Leverage is a big reason why the ROI on real estate is great, but allowing myself to have that line of credit where if I have an opportunity where somebody needs a cash offer and it's under market, I can buy it and sell it, or buy it and refinance. And now that ROI has gone crazy numbers because I had the flexibility. Whereas I'm not going to sit around holding, $300,000 in cash, but if I can have a $300,000 line of credit, that's a huge difference. So using these products and talking to these lenders and kind of seeing what's available to you.
Go sit down with a banker. I mean, if it's your first house, it's usually you can just go with a fixed rate traditional mortgage, right? That's probably the best advice I could give some. If you ever do a 15-year and afford it, that's amazing. I love, and look, everybody's different, right?
I have thoughts on that too.
And that's the thing that's cool, right? Like we're in the same office, we both have the same hustle. Bo is a very big numbers guy, right? He runs the spreadsheets. He's using Copilot, ChatGPT to analyze everything. Like I don't really care about cash flow now because I know I can make really good at my career now. I want cash flow later. So I'm like a heavy pay it off quick as you can.
Right.
So then, boom, cash flow rips later. But Bo likes a different formula.
Yeah, I mean, I put everything on the longest AM table that they'll give me. If you'll give me a 50-year mortgage, I'll take it, okay? and you can throw extra at principal where it makes sense, but you just got to look at the numbers. I mean, it really is just math problems. And so I'm still interested in keeping my cash flow at a certain point and my leverage at a certain point. So I have some houses that are paid off with lines of credit. I have some houses that are levered pretty good, and I have some that are paying down early, depending on interest rate and terms and all kinds of stuff. So
I think that's where your expertise, and you're learning more and more. I mean, the cool thing about our field is we can advise our customers in a bunch of different ways. Yeah. I mean, you can talk to a customer and say, hey, Bo, I've got 4 properties and thinking about selling or whatever. And you may not say, hey, let's not sell these. You may go, let's do this, and then you can go buy more, whatever. So it's every person has different needs and wants, and and that's meeting with the bankers and meeting with some of these agents. Who else would you say is important in the real estate journey to get you off to that first property?
So I think having a good banking relationship with a couple banks. So you need a lender, okay? You need a realtor, somebody who is going to
States for real estate agents preferred.
That's right. Well, and I if I was getting into investing just like I wanted to talk to you because I knew that you knew the investing game backwards and forwards. You own property, you own different types of property. You showed me you introduced me to some of these bankers, so the right real estate agent, if you're looking to buy investment property, and I'm not trying to speak poorly of other agents, but if I'm trying to buy investment property, I'm not going to work with an agent who hasn't bought investment property.
You've said that before, and I believe that, right? I mean, if you don't own a property yourself as an agent, I mean, it's no knock, but I'm not trying to trust you. You never even owned a single property.
It's just and again, it's nothing personal, right? I'm just going to do.
Do you have some investments? Okay, well then you at least know the game and know what to look for.
That's right. There's not a lot of head football coaches that hadn't played football. I'm
experience.
That's
you can't
right.
Fake it.
So I'd have a good investment friendly realtor. I'd have our banking relationship. I'd have a good insurance agent that's going to respond to you because you're going to have to get insurance. You want to make sure that, especially when you start getting a portfolio of properties, it can be a real headache. Insurance gets canceled, or they need this or they need that. It's really important that you have somebody who's on the ball, because I've had insurance agents that are not on the ball, and it's very, very frustrating when policies get canceled and it's causing you a bunch of headache. So that's another one. And then
real estate
attorney, because you're going to have.
So how many is that? We named 4.
So that's 4 attorney, and then the big one that people don't think about after you buy it: who's going to get the rent? How are you going to get the rent? What happens if they don't pay? Who's going to make sure your lease is good, right? Who's going to make sure that all the things are fixed and all that? So a property manager is key. I had my first property managed from day one. People say, until you have this many, you can self-manage and you can learn and you can make mistakes. Okay, you don't have to learn to make mistakes. You can just hire a professional to solve the problem for you and be fine. And I love people who self-manage, because they call me and they are frustrated because their house is vacant or they can't get the tenant out, and they need to sell quick because they got to get this cash out because they've dumped a bunch of cash in and they can't get any money back out, and they're going to sell to me market value because they were going to get 20 properties, but they got burnt out on their 1 or 2 because they tried to do something when they have a full-time job, right? It's not your full-time job. So
let people do what they're good at.
Yep. So anytime you have a problem or I don't know how this would work, just remember there's somebody who is a professional that will solve your problem.
God, the value of a property manager, I mean, it's underspoken, but like sometimes you don't even know what the rent is, right? Well, I've been renting to the same guy for $800 for the last 10 years. Oh my God, you could have been getting $1,400 a month. So you don't always know the market like a property manager does. What about the resources as well? We have the best painters, the best cleaners. People, you could get ripped off. You have trust, all the things. You're saving money, but you think you're saving money, but you're costing yourself money.
Costing yourself big time. And again, I buy these properties from these people a lot of times that have a tenant in there that's been paying $500 a month since 2007.
They're a good tenant, though.
They're great tenants,
They're
sure.
They're nice. They never call me to fix a problem.
But you say, right, when the
why? Because you charged them $500 a month for
exactly,
the last 10 years.
Exactly. When the market rent is $2,000, but you saved your 10% on the property management. So, and then you sell it to me for $100,000 under market value because you can't get the tenant out.
And then you had to advertise. Well, what was it rented for the last 10 years? Oh, $500 a month. Oh, well, that's probably only worth $50,000.
That's right. So anyway, so that property management is after you buy. It's like, what do I do? Just hand it to a property manager. Somebody that knows what they're doing, and
they may be able to find you more deals. I mean, there's no telling how many people that we've kind of tucked in our ecosystem that have bought, stayed with us, bought more, or sold.
Sure.
I mean, it is a really valuable resource.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think those 5 people are key. And look, guess who can point you to those 5 people? Your real estate agent.
Yeah.
The real estate agent that doesn't do anything, that doesn't know anything, right? I mean,
well, that's what I figured. That's my job, is really just to make all these like I feel look at myself as I just make the connections to people, and
don't just call a random countertop guy that's going to give you a $14,000 quote. Let me give you my guy that'll give you a $7,000 quote. Like, use your agents that you know and trust, because they've built relationships and they can point you to the best people.
And people, our property owners at Bullock Property Management, they get the best pricing because we're the ones calling. And I was the same at PMG. We're the ones calling, and we give them a lot of work, and so we get the best pricing, and we get to pass that saving on.
You show up,
That's right.
And you only got one property. You're going to get the high dollar.
You can call the same company, and you're not going to get the pricing.
Correct.
Because I send them 20 jobs a month.
Yes,
they don't know you, right?
Underrated property managers are underrated. So I mean, what that shows me is, if you are trying to get into investing, you need to find an agent that's a hustler that can really point you in the right direction. That's a big deal.
It's just because you don't know what you don't know. I look back when I started, and I still didn't know. I had great mentors and people around me, you and some other people that are experienced in the field, and I still you are going to make some mistakes. You are going to do, I could have done this better, but you can minimize that by getting out there. So,
I mean, I'll never. My first property I bought for $200,000. It was a duplex, and I think my payments was right at $2,000, and I was getting $2,000, but I was happy. I bought my first property. I think it was like 8 or 9% interest rates. Probably didn't deserve the loan at the time, but I remember, I think I had a crisis right away. There was 2-3 tenants not paying. I was like, oh no, and it's like, you draw it up in your head and you get it perfectly. Well, there are pitfalls, they don't pay rent, and you have to analyze and rebound it. And I did. And guess what? The property's paid off now. So a little bit of headaches for the first year.
Well,
I have a paid off asset.
Yeah. And what I'll say is, it always seems expensive at the time. Like, the property's always high.
Yeah.
When you're buying it. Right. So like, you look back now and you're like, that was $200,000. I don't know what it's worth now, but I mean,
probably over $400,000. So it has played the double game,
right?
And
but at the time, it's like, I don't know, that's tight, right? It feels high.
Analysis paralysis. You get stuck. You're scared. I mean, I've had several friends that, and he finally started buying, and he's done really well. But he was nervous. He was scared. I said, man, you got to rip the Band-Aid off. You got to do it.
I think I have personally bought the highest priced house in a neighborhood 3 or 4 times,
and just so if you're listening, don't do that.
No, but you say that, don't do that, but the numbers work for me.
Right.
The seller was at a number. I negotiated what I could, but at the end of the day, if the numbers work for me, I did it.
It's a math form.
And now people look and say, you were so lucky to get that house at 160.
But at the time you're analyzing, like, this is tight, right?
Yeah.
Make no mistake, investing now, especially for young people, it is tight, right? This cash flow dream that everybody says, that we love that on Instagram and TikTok and all the things, that is extremely hard. So you have to say, maybe $100 a month is good, $200 a month. It's enough just to cover the needs. But guess what? You have the asset. You have the asset, but you just got to be confident in your number. You got to educate yourself enough to where you know the numbers, and then you have to be confident in those numbers despite what all the other. And can you get rent appreciation, right? Do you think that your asset is good enough to get to rise with the times of the rent? That's another key about having an experienced realtor and property manager, because you need to know how much, what is the trend on rent for, how many, if you're buying a duplex or you're buying a townhouse, how many townhouses are we building right now? What's the supply like? What's the trend like? Do we have vacancy, right? And somebody like PMG who manages a lot of property, they can look at their database and say, look, we have this many townhouses and this many are vacant, and it's trending in this direction. And that's a helpful indicator for me to know, is rent going to keep going up, or do I need to expect flat rent? Right. Or worse. And look, right now in current real-time data, and I would encourage a lot of people that rents are going to get flat for a little bit. We have a lot of properties in Statesboro. I think you have to analyze right now not having a high rent growth projection. Right now, we are going to be in a stagnant rent environment, in my opinion.
And I'm always as conservative as I can be on the estimate, on the numbers, because before I buy, because if I can be super conservative, I never even factored in rent increases. I do factor in a little bit of appreciation, right? But like, if you can be super conservative and make it work, then you'll be surprised to the good. Well, you don't want to be surprised to the bad. If you're expecting $200 a year increase, that's not realistic, and you're going to be hurting.
I really believe if you're a high income earner, which is harder and harder to do just with your normal job, like put the extra money towards the real estate, and it doesn't matter if you cash flow a bunch. And so it's just a big thing for me. But if you really need the cash flow, then maybe you don't need to buy real estate right now. If you're banking on the cash flow, it's a whole different math formula.
Cash flow is hard to come by, and there's so many different short-term rentals and long-term rental, medium-term rental. I mean, you can go on Instagram, like I said, and find all kinds of people, arbitrage, all kinds of stuff. It can be like overwhelming. That's why you really got to educate yourself so you can kind of parse it down and say, this is what I'm looking for, and this is why I'm investing.
So what's your future? We've talked a lot about investing, how you get in. Like, why are you personally investing? Like, what does it do for you? What do you think it will do for you over the long haul?
The financial freedom is everything to me, just like you said, just not having a boss, not being held to anything, having the freedom to be at my kids' practices and
huge.
Just do anything that we want to do, especially with the kids as they're growing up, and has been the number one goal. And I'm proud to say that, I'm at a point where, of course, it's not unlimited, but I'm very comfortable where we are, and I get to spend that time. And if I need to be at a weekend practice or a weekday practice, or I can go to school lunches during the day, I can do anything that I need to do with the kids. And I'm very excited they're young. My son's 5, daughter's 18 months. And so for the past 5-6 years, really prepared for this. And I'm excited that we kind of hit some of our goals and be able to do those things. And a lot of that is Stephanie and her doing a great job with her. And that's another underrated part, is picking the right partner.
Yes.
Because if your partner's the one poking holes in the bottom of the boat, that's going to be a long-term problem. So having
a partner aligned with your financial goals and needs and being on the same page is absolutely huge.
It has been probably the best decision of my life.
Well, they say that it's the one of the most important
decisions. And she's great. She's probably the hardest worker, and she's done a great job building her business. But she also just trust the numbers, and when we need to save
too, though, like what's cool is like some partners, you have to let the other partner go and fly. Like I'm a very, Lori is risk averse, right?
Yeah.
So when she's like, like she wouldn't gamble a single dollar. Of course, you know me, I'm like, yeah, put 100 on black. I mean, let's hit it. Like, so, but our personalities are different, and that's why we can gel as well. Because I've had deals before where she's like, I just don't know about that area, but it's like eventually she's like, you go, you do.
Yeah, the trust is huge, because sometimes I'll show Stephanie what we're buying, and she's like, I don't know.
Whoa.
I don't know.
Which I've said that too about some of your stuff, but usually I'm wrong, and you're right. So that's
you just got to be confident, no matter what. But no, that's a huge part too. That's your sixth person of your real estate investor. But
let's talk about this. This is, your parents love you, right, and they want you to do well, and I think you have a lot of friends that want you to do well, but you also have a lot of people in your corner that truly want you to do well, and sometimes they don't give you the best advice, right? Like there's sometimes, don't go start that business, or don't buy that property. You really gonna do that? And like sometimes they've never done it, or they're scared, or it's foreign to them, so they're giving you advice to something they've never tried, never done.
And that goes back to the realtor who doesn't own investment properties too, right? But you don't take directions from somebody who hasn't been where you want to go.
Where you want to go, yes.
And that's why branching out, meeting you, getting in the brokerage with you, and meeting other people that were living the lifestyle that I wanted to live, that were doing financially what I would like to get to, getting in those rooms and, learning and talking and just seeing them. That's how you get exposed to them, because if you stay in your same circle, you're just going to do exactly what you've been doing.
You can't. Networking and getting exposed to people at a high level, what's so cool about our field is you do get exposed to a ton of different things. And I've always been this curious kid to going, what do you do? Yeah. What does your dad do? I mean, I remember being at one high school, which was Jonesboro, which was fine. It was a great school. And then I moved my last 2 years, and said, oh, and I was in some of these neighborhoods that were huge. One of the neighborhoods was Eagles Landing in South Atlanta. And I was like, these houses are massive. And so my brain said, well, what does this guy do? And like you said, all the people that I saw really doing well, guess what they had a piece of? Real estate. Mm-hmm. Now, it didn't, you know, my brain didn't take me there and mine didn't take me there till late in my college career, but it was like you saw that that's the kind of stuff that was like, oh, you're getting exposed to some really cool stuff.
Yep. So, yeah, that's, you know, I just think you gotta really, it's not easy. It's a long, I look back and I start saying that like, oh, I got into real estate in 2020, but really it started 3 or 4 years before that when we said that we were going to, you know, bump our savings account up to try to get $10,000 in saving.
Yep.
Just in case of emergency or whatever, like we had gotten married, didn't have kids or anything. I was like, hey, I feel like we should try to save some money here. And then that 10 became more and more and set different goals and kind of set the base. But if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have been able to transition career-wise because I wouldn't have the runway to where I can, you know, when I quit teaching, I said, look, I've got 2 years of living expenses in this.
Well, that was a nerve-wracking thing to do that. I mean, that was a moment of courage and faith and saying, I'm going to pivot here. I don't see myself being a teacher, and nothing wrong with it, but I see myself doing X, and that's hard.
But if I didn't have that runway, I couldn't have done it because I would have been panicking and
so that was
red.
Discipline, right? That was your discipline of savings and trying to, you know, get that. And it's cool when you have a savings mindset, you can figure out a way to earn money. I don't think you can save yourself rich. I think you truly have to find ways to bust open, whether that's business ownership, side hustles, or getting better at your career and advancing.
You do. And I think probably like 90% of people just continuing up the ladder where you're already making money is probably makes the most sense. And real estate is a good investment. Again, kind of retirement, whatever. It's not easy to go be, you know, Chip and Joanna Gaines or whatever, or fix and flip and all this stuff.
It's not easy to be an agent, to crack into this world as being an agent now. It is extremely hard.
No, and people, and I know that a lot of people do get their real estate license and think that they can do it part-time or whatever. And
it's easy, and they don't do anything. They don't work.
Yeah, and people are just going to hand you, you know, a bunch of listings and stuff. But, you know, I think just continue on. Whatever is your best avenue to make more money.
Yes. And it needs, in a perfect world, you have some passion towards it, because then it's like, all right, you're working and you know, I love people are successful when they are truly passionate about what they're into. Yeah.
And whatever that is, just keep increasing your active income. Everybody wants passive income, but that's not
active first.
You can't just make passive income. No. So get that active income up, save it, because it's not really what you make, it's what you keep. Because I know there's a lot of people that make a lot of money. They also spend a lot of money. You know, go buy a $120,000 truck and you know, another $100,000 SUV.
Paid off vehicle, if you can get it done, pay it off and ride it out. I mean, both, you know, Bo and Logan both have paid off trucks. You know, are they flashy? No, but guess what? They're paid off, and both of them own investment property. So do you want the $100,000 truck, or would you rather have an investment property? And it's not sexy. Your truck isn't sexy, but guess what? Your bank account's a little bit more.
That's right. You know? That's right. I would rather be able to go where I want to go and when I want to go in the truck.
In college, I had a paid off 92 Accord that my grandmother gave me, right?
Yeah.
That was my college ride. Do you think that I wanted to have that ride? Hey, chick, get in. This is a 92 Accord. But I had bigger long-term goals for myself, and setting the cheesy things, write them down. Those things are powerful. I encourage my kids all the time. What's your goals? Grant, write your baseball goals down. And guess what? He writes them down, and he friggin' hits them. You know? There's power in that stuff.
Sure.
But, Bo, I think, I enjoyed it today. I think we covered a lot. Investing is something I'm super passionate about. I mean, you can reach out to Bo and I, or your favorite States real estate agent. We have a lot of good agents up here. Get started. Rip the Band-Aid off. I mean, it's cool to see your story, Bo, coming from, you know, a good salary, a good safe job, and taking the leap of faith and going out there on your own and busting it open for your family. And it's really neat to see you grow, and I just enjoyed it today. It was fun.
Well, I couldn't have done it without you. So
let's keep it going. Big 2026.